Today we are going on a frenzy as we take a look into a bunch of RPGs to determine the positive and the negative. Are they going to pass this trial or will they fail miserably? Our goal is to find out if these games are hidden gems or hidden trash. So let's begin! Our first contender is Shining Soul, the reboot of the Shining series after the original developers of Shining Force stopped making them. Sega still retained the IP and wanted to continue with a new line of role-playing games. This exclusive on the Game Boy Advance was the pioneer of the idea, so let's find out the positive and the negative about it. The game offers a small adventure with cool visuals for a 32-bit console. I gotta admit the sprites are nice, as it quickly reminds me of the lovely Super Nintendo era. It has an interesting class system, letting you choose what kind of character you'll play as, with a colorful customization. It has a basic story about ancient evil in the form of a dark dragon, nothing original but charming nonetheless. This is a quest-driven game that plays in an isometric view as you go around many diverse and nice-looking areas. Overall, a reboot that definitely took the series into a different direction. So the positive stands as nice pixel art, neat class system and customization, and simple but cute graphics. Shining Soul's battle system is as clunky and boring as it looks right now in the video. Hit detection is decent, but the action gets really old after the first minutes. Plus, it's just full of difficulty spikes thanks to its repetitive nature. Its uninspiring gameplay mechanics involve a very tedious item system that is just convoluted. I mentioned it was a quest-driven adventure, but most of its quests revolve around going to the same areas over and over again. Music is very forgettable, and sometimes it can become an earsore for how lame it is. Nothing else shines in this game besides the small, almost irrelevant positive aspects I mentioned. So the negative is as follows: mediocre battle system, convoluted item menu, repetitive gameplay, boring quests, and lame music. Shining Soul tried to take a classic series of strategy RPGs into an action franchise, but it ended up being a catastrophe with its first entry. Therefore, I deem this game as hidden trash. Also available on the PS4 and the PS Vita, this very strange Contender is one of those that mix a bunch of genres into an RPG. Tokyo Twilight Ghost Hunters is mainly a visual novel with a strategy battle system. So let's find out all about the positive and the negative about this crazy experiment. Without a doubt, this game grabs your attention for its unique features. One of those is the art, looking as if it was hand-drawn. The character design is normal, but the colors and tones look beautiful. You can immediately tell it's a visual novel for the constant dialogue. However, the story pulls you in almost from the start, deep into a secret organization that hunts ghosts. It really keeps you interested throughout the game. Everything you do matters, such as choosing your actions in this weird menu, which helps into character development. Music is absolutely amazing here, mostly composed by a band called The Key Project. Those graphics do a great job for a PS3 title, obviously relying on its original artwork. Finally, the battle system is very strategic, carried out in this board. Your characters are those small pieces there, and you gotta move them in order to surround or trap your enemies. Overall, it's a highly unique game with several wacky ideas into it. So the positive is beautiful art, good story, awesome music, unique battle system, and neat visuals. Tokyo Twilight's biggest problem is the lack of explanations for a few gameplay mechanics. You never learn how this decision menu works, as it only shows symbols that can be interpreted as reactions. The battle system is explained, but it leaves out a couple of details mainly revolving around the use of traps and items. I gotta admit, it's an interesting combat, but it's kinda convoluted and it's just hard to get into. I praise the story as it is pretty darn good, but as an anime visual novel, it goes on and on with some old-fashioned tropes. In the end, it's a game that tried to be different, but its experimentation left a few stray flaws disrupting the experience sometimes. So the negative is, the game has some unexplained features, battle system is hard to get into, and its story cliches can get tedious at times. This is a very weird RPG and it's definitely not for everybody. However, that doesn't mean it's a bad game at all, as it does have some outstanding positive features. Therefore, I deem this game as a hidden gem. The next contender is Magna Carta 2, a Korean RPG, exclusive to the Xbox 360. It is a sequel to the PS2 title called Magna Carta, Tears of Blood, but with a totally different story and characters. Known for its controversial fan service and its strange battle mechanics, so let's take a look into the positive and the negative about it. Despite its over-the-top fan service, which can be a good or a bad trade depending on your perspective, there's no doubt that the character detail design and the visuals are utterly beautiful. Story leads us into a civil war led by the main heroine of the game, with some strong fantasy elements. Both medieval and technological characteristics add an interesting mix. The battle system is highly unique as it roams around real-time strategy with action based on free movement. Skills are present and they're pretty cool to execute during the overdrive feature. Music can be a little forgettable, but if you pay attention, you'll notice it's very well done. So the positive aspects are great visuals, beautiful artwork, good story, good music, and an interesting battle system. I just said the battle system is interesting and on the positive side. Nevertheless, it can be far from enjoyable at times. It's not only slow and gawky, but it can also be long and tedious. The issue is the overall focused movement, embracing a strange collision detection. It's not exactly a bad combat system, but it definitely could have been more polished. Difficulty spikes are everywhere and sometimes you need to meet certain requirements to beat a specific boss. These can lead to frustration, but fortunately, there aren't many battles that pull these shenanigans. I could also criticize its over-the-top sexualization, as it really does feel exaggerated, but it's nothing really bothersome. Same with some stereotypes and a couple of plot holes, but that's okay. So the negative? Well, the only true negative aspect of the game is the battle system. It's not bad, but it's just full of problems. However, being somewhat manageable and enjoyable for the most part, I think players can cope with it. In conclusion, I think Magna Carta on the PS2 is a much better game, and this sequel was kinda disappointing. Nonetheless, it's not a bad RPG at all. Some will trash it, some will treasure it. Therefore, and barely, I deem this game as a hidden gem. Originally released on the PS Vita, then remade for most modern systems, the Caligula Effect came up as a surprise. It has a historical name in its title, even though the game doesn't seem to have any real relation to it. In its own terms, it is yet another strange contender for this list. So let's discover the positive and the negative aspects about it. The name of the game is enough to awaken your curiosity. You then start playing, quickly thrown into a somewhat dark and bizarre story. People seem to gain access to a virtual reality within a high school, but forced to live there indefinitely. I gotta admit, that is a very alluring premise. Its visuals can overcome some blurry aspects, but in the end, character and graphic design is stereotypical from Japanese animation. A main feature is exploring the areas, finding out clues about certain people or certain events, and its battle mechanics are turn-based in a curious attempt to an original layout. Positive characteristics are a very solid premise, interesting and unique concept, and an original battle system. Even though the main plot revolves around an awesome idea, it eventually fades into the depths of stupidity. It just goes forward to lame-ass cliches and idle bullshit. In fact, I never understood if they were criticizing the J-pop culture or rendering tribute to it. A pseudo-psychological story done wrong. The game takes place in the school, and during the first hours, you'll be stuck there, going from different floors to different classrooms. They all look the same, of course, so being trapped here for a while is outrageously tedious. You do all this exploration while listening to the same horrible song over and over and over again. When you go into battle, the song's still there, but now with lyrics, which are annoying as you try to concentrate. I mean it since the combat mechanics are convoluted and sometimes you don't even know what you're doing. Negative characteristics are: story starts off really good, but it soon turns into ass. Terrible music, very repetitive exploration, and a battle system that, while still original and interesting, it makes no sense at times. The Caligula Effect tried so damn hard to be unique and appealing, but it only pleased a very small audience, the one that somehow managed to get into it. The PS Vita version, digital only, is the one I played, so I don't know if the remake is better, but I highly doubt it. Therefore, I deem this game as hidden trash. Okay everybody, those were my picks for today's video. Try them all out if you can and decide for yourself if they're gems or trash. Let's meet again in the next episode with even more crazy contenders. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!